Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Buddhi Vikrama.
Caitanya Caritamrta reading. Let's offer Mangalacharan prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan Ki Jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Let's continue our reading of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta Madhya Lila chapter 21, text 137. My dear Sanatana, so this chapter is on the opulence and sweetness of Krishna. We are in the concluding verses of this chapter. Then we'll start the next chapter today on the process of devotional service. So this is text 137. My dear Sanatana, the sweetness of Krishna's personality is just like an ocean of ambrosia. Although my mind is now afflicted by convulsive diseases, and I wish to drink that entire ocean, the repressive physician does not allow me to drink even one drop. So here, Krishna is, or rather Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is comparing the sweetness of Krishna's personality to an ocean of nectar. Just like in our diseased condition, we may consult with a doctor and he may prescribe us some medicine and some diet program. And simply by following that prescription, one can relieve oneself of any ailment. So similarly, here we are born in this ocean of material existence, and in this dark world, if we want to see the light, if we want to be happy, then the only way is to immerse ourselves in the ocean of Krishna's pastimes. And simply by doing it, it's easy for us to become free from all of this diseased condition. Sometimes we may think, not sometimes, all the time, we may think, what's the point in reading all this? I know everything about Krishna. Our mind gives us many excuses. How much we know about Krishna, how much surrendered we are, so there is no need for us to read, so on and so forth. But we have to understand, we are not in a neutral platform. We are in a negative platform. We are in an ignorant platform, which means day by day in material existence, the level of ignorance will only increase. Just like we read Manda Samanda Matayo, Manda Bhagya Hi Upadritaha. So the more one remains in this material world, more one becomes materialistic, more confused one gets, and more precarious one's condition becomes, more rusty one's intelligence becomes. So it's extremely important that we need to keep a regular program of reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and that way we can sharpen our intelligence, and even better, we can easily develop bhakti towards Krishna, towards Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, and then we can make progressive steps towards Goloka Vrindavan. So here we need to understand that we should not give in to any of the excuses, any of the rumblings of the mind, and we have to take up this reading of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam in a more prescriptive way. At least have a certain duration of time which you can spend every day to read. Could be half an hour, could be 15 minutes. I know devotees who read just one verse every day. Even that level of reading is good, and we can have a certain discipline. And this way, if we keep reading of Srila Prabhupada's books as part of our daily program, just like we set aside some time for chanting, set aside some time for either visiting temple or attending any classes. So similarly, if we set aside some time to read Srila Prabhupada's books, what it will do to us is it pulls us out of that feeling of forgetfulness, and we go into that forgetful mode very easily. As soon as you get out of bed, it takes a while to really understand. Sometimes you may dream at night, and we don't know whether we are in real world or in dream world. But then early in the morning when we wake up, it takes time for us to really understand what day of the week is this. Is this a working day or a holiday? What am I doing? Sometimes you even get doubts, am I initiated? There is no limit to the depth of ignorance which we can be subject to simply by going to bed and waking up. So every day morning we forget even our name. So many things happen. So when we wake up, that's a good proof for us to understand that we are in a constant ocean of material existence full of forgetfulness. It's very, very easy to forget Krishna because of our conditionings in this material world. To stay away from Krishna, we are more used to being in a forgetful state than in Krishna conscious state. So that's why we should not give in to the rumblings of the mind, because mind will always say what is easy for us. What is it that's very enjoyable for us? But what's enjoyable may not necessarily be the best thing for us. In fact, most of the time it's not at all beneficial, whatever it's enjoyable. So we have to understand that Vaidhi Bhakti means we do it as a matter of duty. Vidhi means it's a rule. So we follow. It doesn't matter what our mind thinks. Just like in an army, there may be a soldier. And if there is an instruction that comes from the superior, it's not up to the soldier to sit and think whether this is correct or not. They follow the orders. Now, who will determine whether something is correct or not? That's up to the authority to do. So same way here we are sincere followers, or trying to be rather sincere followers of these books, these shastras. Whatever instruction that comes our way, we can still analyze them, we can still try to understand them, but just because we don't understand something doesn't mean we should not follow it according to the Shastras, because this is a process of revelation. So some things we will understand straight away, but to really understand the depth of Krishna Prema, to really understand even a glimpse of Krishna Prema, it's still theoretical for us. But we follow the Shastras, we all have faith in the Shastras and we practice it. And depending on the sincerity of the practitioner, the depth of Krishna consciousness will also be revealed proportionately. So just because we don't have the realization doesn't mean we shouldn't follow. We can follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. They have followed it, they have read it, they have realized it. So we have no problem with putting trust and following Mahajanayana Kathasapanta. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us a remedy, how we can be relieved of materialistic pains. You can practice it. I have tried it, it works. Let's say if your mind is disturbed, sometimes you go through some difficulty. Picking up the beads and chanting, that's one way how you can relieve yourself from that anxiety. Other way to bring up the same effect is to open Srila Prabhupada's books and read. When you start to read, Srila Prabhupada would direct us to understand how big Krishna is, how big our life is, and how whatever difficulty that we may get in our lives is just a very insignificant part of our eternal existence. Once our perspective gets broadened that way, it becomes very easy for us not to get attached to any particular situation. That's why I keep repeating a statement again and again for myself as well as for everyone. Don't take leadership role too seriously. That's not what we are. We are simply servants of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, and let that be our only identity. We are simply servants of Srila Prabhupada. Whatever responsibility that we get, we take it up as a matter of duty in a detached way. That doesn't mean we become indifferent to our roles. We put our heart, we still do it, but we don't get attached to it. Then similarly, if we take a same approach in our material existence also, we may be aspiring for something as part of your professional life, but you may not get the outcome that you have been expecting, or you may not get the desired outcome. So that doesn't matter. You can still go on with doing your work. If you are too attached to it, then we unnecessarily invite a lot more anxiety in our lives. Prabhupada says material world is already full of anxiety. That's why it's called Kunta. So why do we want to invite more trouble in our lives? So we don't need to, we shouldn't. So it's extremely important that we understand studying Srila Prabhupada's books gives us a very steady, sober mind, and it also teaches us how to prioritize things in lives, how to understand what is it that we can compromise on and what is it that we should sincerely follow. We can make adjustments, but we should not compromise on the principles. So studying Srila Prabhupada's books broadens our perspective. So it's very important. Now, mind may say anything, it doesn't matter. As I said, just like how we chant certain number of rounds, similarly we should come up with a regular program of reading Srila Prabhupada's books. So let's continue. Madhya Leela chapter 21, text 138. Krishna's body is a city of attractive features, and it is sweeter than sweet. His face, which is like the moon, is sweeter still. And the supremely sweet, gentle smile on that moon-like face is like rays of moonshine. The beauty of Krishna's smile is the sweetest feature of all. His smile is like a full moon that spreads its rays throughout the three worlds. So simply by looking at the smiling face of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, we can invite a lot of auspiciousness in our lives, and that sweet smile is compared to a full moon. It is the sweetest feature. Every part of Krishna's body is sweet. His forehead is sweet, eyes are very sweet, ears are very sweet, very soft, tender, chin, cheeks, curly hair, neck, broad chest, arms, navel, lotus feet, so on and so forth. Everything is considered, or everything is compared, everything is very, very beautiful. However, the most sweetest feature of Krishna's form is his beautiful smile. And this smile, what is it doing? It is like a full moon that spreads its rays throughout the three worlds. Just like how we have a moon in one place and the moon is spreading its rays everywhere. Similarly, Krishna, simply by smiling, he can bring in a lot of positivity in our lives. He can bring in a lot of auspiciousness in our lives. So whoever can meditate on the sweet smiling face of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, they are very, very fortunate. Text 140. His slight smiling and fragrant illumination are compared to camphor, which enters the sweetness of his lips. That sweetness is transformed and enters into space as vibrations from the holes of his flute. The sound of Krishna's flute spreads in four directions. Even though Krishna vibrates his flute within this universe, its sound pierces the universal covering and goes to the spiritual sky. Thus, the vibration enters the ears of the inhabitants, of all inhabitants. It especially enters Goloka Vrindavan Dham and attracts the minds of the young damsels of Rajabhumi, bringing them forcibly to where Krishna is present. So this effect of sound of Krishna's flute is given. We can get the same effect simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. So if we chant the holy name of the Lord, what it does is the holy sound vibration, which is non-different from the Supreme Lord, it enters through our ears, reaches our heart, and our heart is compared to a throne, and in that throne, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Gopinath, would then walk in and he would be sitting on that throne, and he won't leave if we simply keep on chanting. The vibration of Krishna's flute is very aggressive, and it breaks the vows of all chaste women. Indeed, its vibrations takes them forcibly from the laps of their husbands. The vibration of his flute attracts even the goddesses of fortune in the Vaikuntha planets, to say nothing of the poor damsels of Vrindavan. So these series of verses, they give descriptions about the effect of Krishna's flute, effect of Krishna's holy name, and what impact it actually has in the heart of everyone. It says it is very aggressive in the sense it breaks the vows of all chaste women. What to speak of poor damsels of Vrindavana. So in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu concludes the beautiful features and the sweetness and opulence of Krishna. He started with the description of Vaikuntha planets, and then he started describing about the form and the different features. He compares the face or the form of Krishna to 24 and a half, comparing it to Kama Gayatri, 24 and a half moons, how each of these, the different fingers and different toe nails, they are all compared to the moons. So they are 20, and then the different parts of Krishna's body, starting from forehead, his cheeks, smiling face, and the sandalwood pulp, each one of them, they constitute 1 moon each, and then put together it's 24 and a half. We discussed that yesterday. So in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a beautiful description about the sweetness of Krishna and what do we benefit by hearing about these beautiful descriptions about Krishna's form, and what benefit we get by getting attracted towards the lotus feet of Krishna. So text 145, resuming his external consciousness, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami, I have not spoken of what I intended. Lord Krishna is very merciful to you because by bewildering my mind, he has revealed his personal opulence and sweetness. He has caused you to hear all these things from me for your understanding. It's a very, very important instruction Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving, especially those of us who get the opportunity to preach about Krishna. First thing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling to Sanatana Goswami is, I have not spoken of what I intended. Many times you may prepare for a class, many times you may prepare to speak about certain points in a talk. Always, 100% of the times, we will never be able to speak what we intend to. So we need to understand that's first point. Lord Krishna, now second point is very important. Lord Krishna is very merciful to you because by bewildering my mind, he has revealed his personal opulence and sweetness. Even though we don't fully speak what we intend to, still Krishna makes us speak whatever he wants the world to hear. Now why is this important? It's very easy to get carried away by whatever little potency Krishna may give us, whatever little empowerment Krishna may give us, and it's very easy to get carried away with the mood that I'm the speaker, I'm the doer here. But here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is saying what should be the proper mood of a preacher. Proper mood of a preacher should be that we don't know anything, we can try to the best of our ability to share about the glories of Krishna, and whatever Krishna wants me to reveal, he will reveal. Whatever Krishna wants me to speak, he will speak. Whatever Gopinath wants me to speak to inspire others, he will do. If we go with that submissive mood, which is the proper mood, which is the truth actually, then it is very easy for us to continue on with our service. But if we let pride come out and go to our head thinking we are the greatest devotee of all, we are the greatest speaker of all, and same principle applies to everything. I'm just using preaching alone here. Same principle you can extend to, let's say, cooking or garlands making, cleaning. We can become proud of even just cleaning. Look at how humble I am. We can very easily go, welcome to material world. So we can very easily get confused. We can very easily get proud, even by doing menial service. So we have to be very, very careful that we always maintain this mood. Unless Krishna empowers me, I cannot do anything. Unless Krishna makes me do, I cannot do anything. So then we have to be mindful of that fact that whatever that I do, be it in a gross sense, I may do some physical work, or be it even in an intellectual sense, I may be speaking something or I may be writing an article, whatever it may be. Any service that we do, we have to understand we are simply servants of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. I once asked a devotee how he is able to dress their lordships so beautifully. And he told me that before he starts the service, he would pray to the Supreme Lord, to his spiritual master, to all the devotees, my Lord, I don't know how to serve, please bless me so that I can serve you nicely for your pleasure. In that mood, he said, he goes always. And then he prays to the spiritual master. And he says, I just go, I also don't know what Krishna wants. I just go with that mood and I try to maintain that mood, and somehow Krishna always brings out the best of whatever simple offering I make. And I was thinking that's a good mood to go with in anything. You can go for book distribution. We started marathon yesterday. That's the mood to go with in Harinam. That's the mood we should go with in anything that we do. Could be in cooking prasad, could be in cleaning, could be in teaching someone, anything, whatever that we do, in deity worship, anything. We can get proud even in doing deity worship. Look how wonderfully I have dressed Gopinath today. Look how wonderful I have made garlands today. Look how wonderful I have cooked today. How wonderful I have cleaned today. So on and so forth. It's very easy. But to be in that proper mood will guarantee us success. What's the proper mood? That I am simply the servant of Krishna. I am simply servant of Gopinath. I am not at all qualified. I am full number one. And simply by mercy of Prabhupada, I am allowed to do service here. Instruction of Srila Prabhupada is our only qualification. Otherwise, we have no qualification. Yesterday we were discussing how even to take darshan of Radha Gopinath, it's not within our hands. The whole darshan is arranged by Yogamaya. So we are actually, when we come to the temple, we take darshan of Radha Gopinath, or you watch in Mayapur TV. Mayapur TV is also arrangement of Yogamaya. So wherever there is a darshan of the Supreme Lord, that arrangement is brought about by Yogamaya. And that, how do we access Yogamaya? Simply through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Without the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, without his compassion, we can never have access to Yogamaya. What to speak of having access to Shri Radha Gopinath. So we have to be eternally grateful to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and in this way it becomes very easy for us. We remain in our humble, real mood. That is our real position, which is to be servant of the servant of the servant of Shri Radha Gopinath, and in this way we can take progressive, positive steps towards Goloka Vrindavan. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues in verse 45. He has caused you to hear all these things from me for your understanding. So we can try, and whatever Krishna wants to share to the whole world through us, he will do, provided we are trying it sincerely from our heart. Since I've become a madman, I'm saying one thing instead of another. This is because I'm being carried away by the waves of the nectarian ocean of Lord Krishna's transcendental sweetness. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then remained silent for a moment. Finally, adjusting things within his mind, he again spoke to Sanatana Goswami. If anyone gets an opportunity to hear about the sweetness of Krishna in this chapter of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, he will certainly be eligible to float in the transcendentally blissful ocean of love of Godhead, Gauranga. So whoever hears this will become eligible to float in the transcendently blissful ocean of love of Godhead. Sri Rupa Raghunatha Padaya Rasha Chaitanya Caritamrta Kahe Krishna Dasa. So that concludes chapter 21, Madhya Lila. So let's move to the next chapter, which is chapter 22, the process of a devotional service. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is an ocean of transcendental mercy, and although the subject matter of Bhakti Yoga is very confidential, very, very confidential, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam. Guhyam means it's very, very confidential. So the knowledge about Bhakti Yoga is not very easily obtained. By mercy of Prabhupada, we get this knowledge. Otherwise, it is not at all easy. It's very, very confidential topic. He is an ocean of transcendental mercy, and although the subject matter of Bhakti Yoga is very confidential, he has nonetheless manifested it so nicely, even in this age of Kali, the age of quarrel. Why is it considered very confidential? Because one can control Krishna. Krishna comes under the control, rather, of the devotees, whoever practicing Bhakti Yoga. So Krishna doesn't give Bhakti very easily. It's mentioned when Krishna is in Dwaraka, he would give, even in Vrindavan it's actually given, he would give charity. In Dwaraka especially it's given, there is a pastime, he gives people in charity every morning. Whenever they come in line, he would keep on giving. And as he gives, one day one devotee asks Krishna, he makes some people wait, he doesn't give them readily. So, but he keeps on giving wealth to the other people. So one day one devotee asks Krishna, my dear Lord, why are you making these people to wait? Why don't you give them also readily? Then Krishna tells him that, well, others are asking for wealth, I'm giving very easily, but these people are asking for myself. I need to think about it. Which means they are asking for bhakti. So whoever chants the holy name of the Lord, Krishna becomes their property. One of Krishna's name is Dinanath. Dinanath means he is the property of the needy. He is the shelter of the needy. Somebody who has nothing in this world, there is still one thing, one treasure which everyone has the right to possess, and that is the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. That's why he is called Dinanath. So Krishna is the most priceless treasure of every living entity, not just humans but every living entity. So that's why this process of Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti is the only way how one can attain the treasure. Now, given the rarity of Bhakti, given the highly elevated position of Bhakti Yoga, the knowledge about Bhakti Yoga is kept very confidential. Why? Krishna doesn't give it that easily. But then how did we come in contact with Krishna consciousness? Devotees are very, very merciful than Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is more merciful than Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made Krishna accessible for everyone in this whole world through Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I have described one's relationship with Krishna in various ways. This is the subject matter of all the Vedas. Krishna is the center of all activities. Now I shall speak about the characteristics of devotional service by which one can attain the shelter of Krishna and his loving transcendental service. So by understanding about devotional service, by performing devotional service, one can attain the shelter of Krishna and one can be engaged in his eternal transcendental service. A human being's activities should be centered only on the devotional service to Lord Krishna. This is very important. We are all practicing devotees, and it's very easy for us to get distracted from Bhakti Yoga, from the process of devotional service in so many ways. So how can we remain focused in doing devotional service? First of all, we all need to understand there has to be a certain time set aside for our sadhana. There has to be a certain time set aside for our health. But there also has to be a certain time set aside for doing devotional service. What devotional service? That depends on psychophysical nature of different devotees. But all of us need to have a proper plan to execute all the three. To take care of our health, to take care of our sadhana, and to take care of or to take up some devotional service. A human being's activities should be centered only on the devotional service to Lord Krishna. So we should constantly be making plan to engage ourselves in doing devotional service. Now some of us may be able to do more, some of us may be able to do less, that doesn't matter, but we need to take up some committed devotional service. Doing devotional service randomly, is it a good idea? It's good, but not the best. Why? Because commitment empowers action, as Vaisheshika Prabhu says. Commitment empowers action. If we take up a service, commit ourselves to that service, then what it does is it helps us stay focused to do one thing, to improve, to go deep, to improvise that thing. That's first point we have to understand. Second, it's very easy if we randomly keep on taking, today I will do something, next 1 month I won't do anything. If we go with the sort of a whimsical approach, what happens is that sometimes our mind will be very, very enthusiastic, sometimes only. Most of the time the mind will give us excuse. So that's why if you take up some regular service, we need a lot of help for, let's say, running temple program, festivals especially. We are in the process of forming hospitality teams. We are in the process of forming different volunteers, team departments. We have a volunteer coordination committee. You can contact our volunteer leaders and then they will ask you, they'll give you options, what timing is available for you, what is your skills like, what is your interest like. Based on that, they will allocate a certain service. It's perfectly fine, let's say after engaging in a service for 6 months, year or something like that, to try some other service. That is okay. Or sometimes you may take up some service, you may not you realize actually it's not quite your kind of thing, you want to do something else, some other service, perfectly fine. But each of us need to have our own committed service. That's very, very important. Otherwise, as I said, our progress curve in Krishna consciousness will go like sinusoidal, up and down. But if we take one committed service, it may go slow, but it will be gradually towards positive axis rather than going up and going down, negative axis, again going up, going down. That's not very good, because the sum total or the resultant of such a progress will be practically next to nothing. So it's important, whatever service that we do, we have to stay committed. As we said, that service can be as simple as cleaning, service can be as simple as greeting the guests who come to temple. We need a lot of help. There are a lot of new people, new visitors who come to temple. We can be there on Sunday. You can help devotees actually sign up for different courses we run, different Gopinath Seva programs we have, different services also. So there are n number of ways how we can participate in doing service. But we need to ask ourselves this question: what is my sadhana program? What is it that I'm doing to practice Krishna consciousness properly? Second question: what is the program that I have for my health? Am I doing some regular exercise? Could be yoga, could be walking, could be whatever that we do. We can do japa walk, no problem. Or some exercise. Am I following a proper diet, which is healthy, which is conducive for my age, so on and so forth. So similarly, we should ask ourselves this question: yes, I may be busy doing different services, but what is my service? So that part everyone needs to be focused on, and we need to have that program very, very clearly. If I go to my authority, and what is it that my authority thinks of my contribution, we have to have an answer very clearly. If I go to Radha Gopinath, if Radha Gopinath asks me the question, so what are you doing for me? What is my answer? I should not be scratching my head. That means we don't have a committed service. So that's a good question to ask ourselves. If Gopinath comes in front of you and he asks you, "Oh Prabhu, oh Mataji, what service are you doing for me?" Without thinking twice, we should be able to list the services. At least one service we should be able to tell Gopinath. Honestly, we can't cheat Gopinath. So if we have an answer to that question, then yes, our progress, our growth in Krishna consciousness will be very, very balanced. Otherwise, if we think sadhana is everything, sadhana is the only thing I will do in my life, you can do, but to get realized knowledge, very, very difficult. We are not jnanis. We can't sit and keep on speculating. We have to put this knowledge into practice by doing some devotional service, but committed devotional service. We should not be doing only sort of like freelancing service. I'll do something today, tomorrow something else, day after tomorrow something else. It's not conducive to a steady growth in our Krishna consciousness. But we should have a committed service. There may be other things we can do. You can try your hand in, but we all need to have at least one committed service. So that's a question we need to ask ourselves. I'll leave you with that message to think about that, and we'll see you next Thursday. We are starting our traveling Sankirtan today in another half an hour. So we seek, well, it's 8 a.m. in the morning, so we seek your blessings that we be able to please Shri Radha Gopinath Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada by bringing lot of conditioned souls to their lotus feet from every corner of Australia. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's Brihad Mridanga ki jai. Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki jai. Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Shri Gaura Nitai ki jai. Samaveda Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Gopinath's devotees ki jai. Devotees in Mayapur TV, YouTube and Facebook ki jai. Jai Nittai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.